And let's return then to our top story of the day, and this relates to the future of the president, which becomes clearer with each hour. Let's turn to the event that placed his political life in jeopardy. What are the rules and laws that govern and regulate the flow of cash in and out of the country? What are the limitations on forex and obligations to declare revenue? Professor Keith Engel is the Chief Executive Officer for the South African Institute of Tax Professionals and joins us now. Good evening, Professor Engel, and great to have you with us tonight. Thank you so much for your time. So, as the story's coverage increases, we find out more and more details. So a Sudanese buyer pays $580,000, according to the president, for 20 buffalo in 2019. And it behoves us to ask the question, what are the rules regarding sales in cash and forex, specifically for the seller?
As I said, I think we talked about this a few times before. The main issue is if you bought just buffalo, then the question is, do you have a Reserve Bank violation? I think you have to convert that currency within 30 days, and that is a violation of the law if you don't do that. That is one of the remaining elements of exchange control. The second question is, well, you made money from buffalo. Did you pay your tax on it? Did you declare it? You'll need to see something related to the tax returns. Those are the two main things that we see. The real problem, though, is that when you're focusing on cash, the problem is, where did you get the cash? And usually, if a crime exists, it's the source of the cash, not the just mere holding of cash itself. And the reason why the authorities go after the back end is it's easier to find the cash than going after the source. So the further damage is we don't know where the source really was from. And I think that's what is under question.
All right, so let's talk about the source, the buyer, and what obligation he had. Should we be able to see a transaction trail that placed the money in his hands, things like his passport details and his address?
Yes, you see, this is one of the things. There's another thing that's going on, and that's called money laundering. And there's a big push on us. Remember about the gray listing? And the issue that is the Financial Action Task Force. And really what the worry is, what was the source? And this is what we know is a suspicious transaction. And there you'd want to know, where did this money come from? Now, it's my understanding that there's a lot more money than just from those 20 or 30 buffalo, that the money is way beyond that, and you're going to want to see the source from all those funds. And that's where the potential real crime exists. And that we don't have enough evidence on. And that's really where it's at. And this is a big issue for us because in terms of gray listing, we need to know that we're enforcing anti-money laundering laws. And if our president is engaged in that, our credibility is going to be very, very low. So
just to clarify there, Prof, you can't just be allowed to walk around with millions of forex in your pocket if you're not a financial institution.
Yeah, that's right. So look, if you're holding a lot of cash that is not rand, you can hold a lot of rand, but if it's not rand, and these are dollars from what I understand, then the exchange control rules require you to convert that money. But again, when you're looking at that, is that such a big crime? Okay, so you should have converted it. Is that really serious? The problem is, how did you have a lot of this cash? Where did you get it from? And usually large amounts of cash are associated from illegal sources of income. And that's the thing that really has to be investigated. The second element, again, is we return to tax. Usually people have it in cash because they don't want to pay tax. And that's the bigger crime. So yes, he's definitely exposed on the failure to convert, but is that really going to get the country outraged? The fear is this money coming from some questionable source? And that issue has been raised a bit. And the question is there corruption afoot as to where this money came from?
Prof, I'm going to give you just a moment just to adjust the way you're holding the camera there, because I can see your finger, just your digits across the screen, and we might want to reuse what you're saying and share it with our other viewers. This question is key as well, the SARB, and the reason we're having this discussion again is because these are, of course, things that come out of the Panel 89 report and their findings. The SARB doesn't seem to have any records of this money entering the country. Now, is that not an added red flag?
Yes, it is an added red flag. You see, one of the things that you're pushing for in the modern era is keeping an eye on where money is coming from. Now, he's not a financial institution, so it's not his obligation to report. If the money went through a bank, they would have this problem. And so it is a red flag. And from what I'm hearing, the question is, did this money come from certain locations? Did it come as a result of his role as president? And some of that money seems to be coming from the Middle East. So, big chunks of cash is not moved in normal transactions. These are definitely red flags, and we need a lot more information. And to focus just on the cash itself is a mistake. You really have to focus on the sources. But yes, as a matter of law, a violation of exchange control can be a very serious matter, and it can be criminal. So in and of itself, he's got a red flag. But frankly, from an ethical point of view, the source is really the question.
Yeah, I mean, and as you allude to there are specific sections in law which stipulate that, things like the theft of foreign currency, for example, must be reported. And when you don't do it, there are prison terms attached with that. And some of the things you're talking about as well are prosecutable, certainly from a criminal perspective. We don't have a lot of time left. Let's say this was anyone, Prof. Of course, we are talking about the president here. How much trouble is he in?
Yeah.
Just using, the standards that you've shared with us now.
Well, the standards is this. I mean, technically, you have a criminal violation. So if you have a criminal violation, you have a prosecution, there's the step-aside order. Now, the question is public opinion. Public opinion, I don't think, is going to be swayed so much by holding the cash. Where the public opinion is going to be swayed is the source of the cash. But you can see this is causing him a lot of problems, and it's giving him a lot of fodder for his enemies. But frankly, the exchange control violation is enough for a step-aside order, and failure to declare income on income tax, even if it was from those Buffalo, and they didn't report that. Remember, it's not just an annual reporting, it's provisional tax reporting, which is once or twice a year that's most likely been violated. And failure to report income is another criminal violation, which is evasion. And criminal violations mean that needs to be prosecuted, and that means a step-aside order. So frankly, I see a lot of problems ahead.
Professor Keith Engel, thank you for talking to us tonight. He is the CEO of the South African Institute of Tax Professionals.